And hello, everyone. Welcome to This Week in Hospitality Digital Marketing Live Show number 171. I am your host, or one of your hosts, Lauren Gray, with Hospitality Digital Marketing. And welcome to what is a weekly now, in our fourth year. Everything's doing great and wonderful. I had expected to actually have my special co-host already with me, Matt from Runtriz, but I do not see him quite yet, so we're going to do hand puppets and Dog and Pony Show. No, actually, Robert always does a well-curated list of content for us. But now, Robert Cole, one of our co-hosts from Rock Cheetah, he's also the senior analyst for Focusrite, which he was just out in LA with. So he put together a really neat list as to what's going on, and of course a well-biased list because most of it was associated with Focusrite and the content associated there, and of course his interview with Kellen Smith, with Hilton CMO Kellen Smith, and he did a really good job interviewing her, I might say. Really neat stuff that he went over and put together. My apologies, I'm a little distracted. I was getting us loaded up on Facebook because we co-broadcast on Facebook, on Twitter, along with YouTube, and of course the base platform here at Webinar and Jam. So it gives us an audience of over 6,000 people weekly, and in 28 countries, which is really neat to say that there are over 28 countries that listen to us regularly. We have some of you that participate with us live, and then most of you listen to us as a podcast through the course of the week thereafter, to your timetable, because I know everyone is not in Eastern time zone at 11:30, which is conveniently nice for us, 10:30 Central. Pacific gets a little early, and then we start doing things like Hawaii and APAC. It starts getting really early. I remember when I was in Shanghai, and it was at 2 a.m. that I was having to jump on the show and host, which made it very interesting for it. And needless to say, I was thinking we were going to be talking to our guest co-host first, so I did not think to go over and think that we have to hit some of the content pieces early on. But given said that we have started and no one is yet to have joined us, I will have to go over and say some of the things that we're looking at. But let's go a little bit more on tools and techniques right now, because news is something we normally consistently hit. I'd like to hit a couple of tools and functionalities that are out in market right now that are being very, very helpful in the process of sales. Now, as you know, Holly Zobo, one of our other co-hosts, she has Influencer Sales, which is a sales training system for your sales teams in the hotels. Now, what makes this exceptionally excellent, I had the benefit of being one of her trainers recently at a conference in New Orleans to help salespeople learn how to use some of these tools. Sales has been a bit of a forgotten, or I wouldn't say forgotten, more of a neglected division or department associated with revenue generation. Obviously, digital marketing has taken the forefront in the limelight, and of course, revenue management and the integration of both of those. I mean, I just finished going to Toronto and Boston last week with some of my dearest friends, Fran Brasso, Executive Vice President of HSMAI, Jenny Hager, who is the chapter leader for all of HSMAI in North America. And we went to Toronto, and Bonnie Buckheiser, who is with Buckheiser's Management, who is a revenue management group. And we talk about the convergence of revenue management and marketing. But Holly's really taken a really good tact in talking about sales and training sales. We easily just defer them to, those are the people that glad hand and smile and shake hands and take orders. And we know in this world that group sales is no longer an order-driven business. It's a sales-driven business that you have to chase and pursue. And so she put up an interesting program where you're learning how to use new techniques and technologies associated with sales, none the least of which is LinkedIn. Mr. Roberts, sir, wow, you're in HD 5x5.
I am. I'm brought to you in too close mode again. Could you back up 10 or 12 yards?
Yeah, right. You just get a little bit further. I'm afraid to say that our guest co-host is not yet with us, and I have no email saying that why he wouldn't be, unless he did hear the rumor that you were going to be on the show. And I'm thinking it may have been a factor of him saying, "Oh, Robert said, he's too smart for me."
I don't know. My legal counsel told me that restraining orders didn't apply on these sorts of things, but perhaps
I'm not in the same room with you, so you can't be mad.
Exactly.
Well, let me finish wrapping up a little bit of what I was talking about with Holly's program, with the Influencer Sales program, because I'm really a huge fan of it. Well, I'm a huge fan of Holly, and and because of that, inherently, it's her program as well. She's doing now sessions online. This month was her second month of doing this, where you sign up and you go to a virtual class once a week, and you learn fundamental tools and usabilities of what's out there in the market. I mean, we say LinkedIn because it's the easiest platform to point at, saying, "Oh, salespeople, go use that." But how do you use it? How do you build it? How do you frame it? How do you control your profile? How do you engage people professionally is an aspect of this. And then other tools like Trello for doing tasks and so forth, organizing yourself, keeping track of your sales engagements and so forth. And she talked about becoming better salespeople. And so she has a really great program. So if you're interested in it, I'll make sure the link is always with our show notes for everything that we do. And so you can go and take a look at what her program is, both in person and online. And I think next year she's going to collaborate with HSMAI, much like I was just talking about with Rocket, Revenue Optimization, Convergence, Education, and Training. She's going to be doing a sales version of that next year, where she'll be traveling and doing sales. And I think Rocket next year is 3 times next year, and she's doing 3 sales coordinated with us. So 3 locations next year in person. Holly Zoba, Influencer Sales, do not miss it. And I think I'm on the flip coin of that. I'm on the revenue side for that portion.
And Lauren's Advanced Technology has already registered you and deducted the fee, the registration fee, automatically from your account.
Credit card. Yeah, I mean,
Exactly.
You know, Christmas shopping's around the corner, so we pre-authorized your card for purchases.
Yes, when you check that little box saying, yes, I would like to watch, I authorize, I thought that was for GDPR.
Yeah, what the heck? Hey, so not that you skewed the wonderful list today, but lots of Focusrite stuff there, plus an amazing interview by some strange fellow with somebody from Hilton. I just happened to notice that one on there. It just kind of dropped into the task list.
Well, for those who are not familiar with the Focusrite conference, it's been going for, I think this is the 19th year, I'm pretty sure. I think it started in, maybe it started in 99. I think there was one before it that wasn't called Focusrite, but it's been going on for quite a while, and it's a great conference. It is kind of known because the registration fee is this year's I think $4,200.
It's part of your anatomy. It's part of your anatomy is what the fee is.
Yeah, and this year 1,700 people showed up. I mean, every year the registration fee goes up $100 basically. Here's the model, and the attendance goes up 100 people.
It's like, you know what it is? It's like OTAs. They're teaching us to book late, and we like lemmings follow it.
Yes, you can save. I mean, if you attended this year's conference, they had a current attendee where I think it was $3,000. So you can save $1,200 if you go rebook for next year, which is a good, that's a good thing, right? So, but when you look at the lineup of the individuals who were there, it's pretty amazing. I mean, just on the stage, you have Mark Okerstrom, CEO of Expedia. You had Glenn Fogel, COO of Booking Holdings. They didn't have the COOs, but they had senior execs from C-Trip. Steve Hafner from Kayak. I interviewed Kellen Smith-Kenny, who's the CMO of Hilton, Maud Bailey, who's the Chief Digital Officer and basically Chief Marketing Officer of Accor. A huge number of people. They had panels on everything from new distribution capability for the airlines, with folks fighting that out of what's going on. I happened to there was a blockchain session, folks, but I participated in that one. Not on stage, but the background. But we got IBM's global general manager of travel and transportation to do it, and he did a great job explaining, hey, this isn't some sort of just cryptocurrency pipe dream. There's this distributed ledger thing that is doing amazing stuff already with hundreds of countries, billions of dollars of commerce transacting on this stuff. So, so it's pretty amazing. And Steve Koffer from TripAdvisor, CEO of TripAdvisor. And the amazing thing, the reason people pay $4,200 because they also stream it live and for free, right? No registration. Right. You just go for free, and people go, That's insane. Why would they do that? It's so people can see the information. For Focusrite does predominantly research, right? And so that's great. And yes, you have to subscribe to get the research and do that, but it's kind of their way to help the industry because they know everybody can't afford $4,200.
Robert, you say that and you say it like you mean it. Doing live stream video is not helping the industry, although I like to say it is.
Well,
it's soliciting
promote
the value
them.
Proposition of
Absolutely.
The
Right, absolutely. Yes, it isn't total philanthropy, but no, they really. I mean, it was a tough decision for them. They didn't do it, early on, and the technology wasn't nearly as good. But yeah, they do that. Now you may ask, why would people, if they can see all the sessions, why do you do that? Because of the networking value. So
Right.
you're walking down the hall. I had just finished up interviewing Kellen Smith Kelly from Hilton, and I walked out. I was going to go meet actually a fellow, Bob Alter, who used to own Sunstone Hotels. He was there. We had a meeting set up for later, and I ran into Steve Coffer, sort of thing. And I don't know Steve very well. I've only really met him at the Focusrite conference over a number of years. And I go, do you know Kellen? Because Kellen's new to the industry. She's only been there 9 months. So I introduced Trip, and they actually already had a meeting planned later in the day, which was great. But they hadn't met each other before. But the people are there and they're accessible. So you'll walk out and you'll go, oh, there's so and so, and the cocktail receptions. I mean, we had at the JW Marriott, at LA Live, the Marriott, which is managed by Marriott, right? They closed off the lobby bar before the thing. I mean, everything, the lobby bar, the lobby restaurants, they did have an area where you could go around the back for the whole thing because, again, the whole lobby lizard thing, there used to be kind of people like that. But it's a professional conference. I mean, they've got security. They had tiers of security. I mean, right by the front desk going up the initial escalator to like the mezzanine level, there were, it was blocked off. It was, you couldn't see through it, right? Sort of thing. So you can't, go wave, layers of security to go up there, and then the people are available to hang out, and they aren't going to get, hit by throngs or press or anything like that. And it's great. Yeah, it is really truly a great event. But anyway, there are a whole bunch of videos, and we can post the links. All of the sessions are there, and and some of them were. I mean, you always get some great insights. I mean, Steve Hafner, the CEO of Kayak, is very, very outspoken, to a fault, perhaps, to the corporate communications people at Booking Holdings, who are his owners. But he came out and basically said, we have a website in China. We just don't have any users. So you don't normally hear stuff like that at a conference. And the big one was Bill Gurley. And Bill Gurley is like an icon of Silicon Valley. I mean, he's been involved in just so many, top. I can't remember if Benchmark Capital was behind Facebook or not, or Twitter, but he's been involved in all these big companies. A Series A funder of Uber, stuff like that, right? So he's on stage, and then the person interviewing him is I'll turn him. Why am I forgetting his name? Anyway, Brad Gerstner. Brad Gerstner has been involved in a lot of, lots of deals as well. So he's interviewing. Well, Gurley is up there and basically came out and said, "What? You know what? I'll go look up the exact words and then tell you because it was that good." But basically said, Wise hotel technology suck, sort of thing, and called out, Hertz for 30 years, you've been able to go straight to your car. Why? And he basically ran through the scenario of he got to his hotel, showed up, he couldn't do anything to go direct the room. He had to go to a desk where somebody typed a bunch of stuff. He's like, what are they typing? They're typing lots of, what are they doing? I don't understand. And then he says he goes up and everything. And, of course, he can't use his phone to get in the room or anything like that. Okay. He gets in there and he goes, and you know how I ordered breakfast? With a little door hanger piece of cardboard and a pencil. It's like, what is that about? sort of thing, right? And he's got a point, sort of thing. But anyway, I interviewed Kellen Smith-Kenny from Hilton, who was outstanding. This woman is a rock star. Every other marketing group in the hotel industry had better raise their game because she's that good. But she had the perfect answer, right? She said, all you need is the Hilton app, because we do that. You can pick your room, did all this stuff. And she went through and said, I checked in. I was in my Uber going to Hilton Checkers. And she said, actually, my daughter selected my room for me, right? From home, because it was, rooms. I knew I was going to room 703, right? Because she was busy flying in from wherever. And she texted the hotel that, her mom needs hypoallergenic pillows. And she goes, they were there when I checked in. It was great. And then I
miss thing.
Well, I know.
No.
Yeah. And it's not all the technology and things like that. And yes, she did order room service. How did she do it? She sent a text. She sent a message to the concierge to do it. And it was there on time. Now, again, she's the CMO of Hilton. She's probably got a little star next to her name and some things like that and on cue. But hey, that's how it's supposed to work. You can get that.
That's how it's supposed to work.
Can they get better at it? Yeah, and our guest is doing some things, and some technologies that help people do that, right? So yes, that's where it should be, right? And in my conversation with Kellen, I kind of said, well, because she was talking about the seamlessness of Uber and how they did all this stuff. I'm like, thanks, you're the one who screwed it up for all the lazy hoteliers who wanted to keep doing it the old way, right? raise those expectations, but it's true. But no, she's great. Her background started off at Microsoft, super data driven, was involved in the stores, then went to Capital One, was senior VP of marketing there, and they are like the ultimate performance marketing. I mean, measure every TV commercial, she said, I didn't realize this, Capital One was the US Postal Service's #1 customer, right? Because you get all these targeted credit card offers, but the content of those, of what's your credit line and the interest rate and the so many months, all of that is figured out, right? That isn't just like throw this stuff out and see what happens. They are working that actively. And then Uber, right? All that. Oh, she said they started out on a mobile device. 80% of their marketing spend was mobile. And it was achieving, right, where everybody else was kind of opposite. Testing mobile. Should we have a mobile site and things like that? She's like, what the hell? Boom, just crushing it, sort of thing. So it was great.
Since our guest host is MIA, Runtriz, Matt Allert, which I sent.
Don't ever buy that product. I don't know. You might order it. It may not show up.
It may not show up. It may not work. It may not be functioning. Matt, if you're not going to come up and
that is the punishment you get.
We're going to bash the crap out of your product.
We will. Based on no actual usage or actual
totally. Yeah. Was it
no fact-based sort of basis, but just really.
What is it? Hackham's razor?
Occam's razor. Yeah.
No, not Occam's. No, there's Hascom's razor, which says any idea without supported evidence can be equally dismissed with the same thing.
There you go. So we'll be doing both of those.
Yeah, we're going to do both of those. We're going to bash your product with no viable evidence of it, and then we'll just leave it up there for you to come up and try to take it back down. No, I sent some despairing emails going, hey, show's going on live, but our special co-host isn't there, so thank you so much. But that's okay. Always too much to talk about, but actually, if we can focus.
This is when you find out about the horror. I'm not saying this in certain the horrible auto accident or whatever. Lawrence,
right. You're mad about something only to find out that there was probably a reason for it. That's why you always got to give it a bit of a grain of salt. Yeah, and I do hope it is that there's nothing serious that caused them to miss it. I'm expecting that it might have been.
Anything short of that, I mean, we're talking, family emergency, yes, personal, decapitation, stuff like that.
So, you better show up with no head, mister.
I don't know. I seem to recall we had a show a while ago where Ed was decapitated and he was still going. So,
he was still unit as ever. So actually, if we can keep to the theme a little bit of Runtriz, because there are a burgeoning number of options now for in-house engagement. I mean, Runtriz was one of those ones. Is one of those. Atlas, of course, has been this. They've been on the show with us.
There's also Volara, .ai, which I actually talked to Dave Berger, who's their CEO at the. So now they're doing a lot of stuff, but they're all voice based, right? So they're doing a lot of the voice integration to do a lot of these things. So.
And I don't think people realize how simple those builds are. Those skills that you make for Alexa, or those services that you make for Google Assistant, are really pretty much. You're doing bots, or you're doing any sort of logic progression workflows for your CRM email campaigns, conditional, workflows. It's the same mindset methodology of causation. You literally say, event A, option BD, and then you start branching this out, saying if they say yes or no, this is it. If they ask this, then there's this query. If it can't resolve it, then this goes to such and such. When you make those logic strings, it makes it very easy. Now, the question comes to it, and I think we already know Ed's opinion about this, and I think we all share the same sentiment, that Hilton went the right way by saying, use your own device. If we're going to engage with you, let's use your own device.
Yes.
Don't go into this hardware acquisition, because it already, as soon as you buy it, it's outdated, and you're assuming the maintenance and the cost and all that. Plus, then you have privacy issues and concerns, and that's just a rabbit hole.
It's interesting, the Volara one, and I'll have to admit, not before I talked to him, I wasn't that much of a fan, because I thought he was just doing kind of echo skills. He's actually got some patents, and he's actually platform independent, right? So he can kind of he's building this whole layer that will work with all of these, and he's apparently GDPR compliant and got a lot of really good things that you would have to do. So that's interesting. And then he can do tighter integration with a lot of these systems, with the in-house systems, right? By doing that, by using his platform. So he's basically saying you can come in, use your own assistants, things like that, interact with his basic services layer, right? I think is probably the best way to describe it. And that services layer is then tightly integrated with the hotel system. I think there's something between all of those that will probably wind up being the ultimate outcome, because if it is just purely your phone, or they come up, I don't know, with an Alexa skill or something like that, and it's the hotel's thing, you run afoul of a lot of different things of opting in and things like that. And the big missing part, of course, is Amazon Alexa have a lot of information about you and your preferences and your purchase history and things like that. And if you want to go do something, that's really helpful for all the payments. It's got all that. And same with Google Assistant, right? It knows about you. Siri knows about you. Even Cortana, right? For Microsoft, all those things. If you can't tap into your profile and that wealth of AI that those platforms, that you've created over however long on those platforms, it's not going to work as well. Right? You don't want people to start learning new skills and to train them when they get into the hotel and familiarize themselves with an interface and all that crap. But you also have to figure out a way where they can go, get my Netflix from my phone up to that big, beautiful piece of, glass hanging on the wall, right? That 80-inch screen, are those whatever speakers? Wow. I've been upgraded to the suite, and here I am watching Game of Thrones on my
phone, right?
On my phone.
It does. You do need to create the integration to it, but I guess also too, we're in a bit of a world of discovery right now. I know from actually building these things right now and this goes to any developer. And Holly, if you're listening to us, I would love for you to chime in, because you went through boot camp for coding and developing. So if anybody can talk about first-person experiences with this on the developer side, you can. You think of every option that you can think of, any variable to your construct. Like, okay, if this is this, I would want to know this, and I want to, I think I would want to ask this question. And it is completely different than when you put it into real-world usage. What gets used, what doesn't get used,
absolutely.
What you didn't even think of that has to get built for it. I mean, examples of that are like when Apple opened up its App Store back in 2008,
right?
That they had up to that point controlled all the programs that were built on the platform for Apple, which was one of the plus minuses of it. You enjoyed the security of it, but you also didn't enjoy the limitations of it. You knew there was a better programs, but they couldn't be used. So then they opened up the App Store, and the only apps that the phone had were the ones that they built until they opened the App Store. And then all of a sudden, boom, all these things that none of their engineers or developers ever conceived would be interestingly to be made. Now all of a sudden, the thousands. So
yeah, well,
to that end,
because whenever you launch any form of software, it stops being yours and it winds up being the community's, right?
right.
And I mean, it's, whatever they're going to use it for the way they see, they see fit. And so you can kind of control that. That's the problem with Facebook, right? I mean, Facebook was sitting there going, we didn't know about these guys hacking into the elections. Well, they weren't really looking for it. And in fairness to Facebook, they did not design that platform for people to go start spewing false information to influence, campaigns and, political campaigns. But some resourceful members of the community figured that out. And now it's kind of like, hey, they might even gotten wind of this and decided not to really do much about it because, again, it was good advertising revenue or whatever when it was paid. So,
right.
Yeah.
Well, and then it goes to this also is that I built functionalities, and this goes back to the joke you just made about ordering breakfast on the door hanger. In order for people to understand the usability of it, we had to put a card in the room explaining the questions you could ask. So at the end of the day, what did we really save? I mean, novelty included. Yes, it's great that you can ask the question. Okay, but the reality of it is not a lot of people know what questions to ask, or in the phrase of a question how to ask. There's 100 different ways to ask the same question. Between getting extra towels for your room or extra pillows, you get asked a variety of ways of doing it, not always in the same sentence structure. So you actually had to educate the users on how to engage these skills to ask the questions for content, which in effect makes it a longer answer than it is if you just said, pick up the phone and say, get more towels, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which I would have loved to have asked Mr. Runtriz about as to whether or not.
But again, it's all those processes that you have to break down, every single step, and you when you're developing this stuff. I mean, a key component of product management is basically, on the pure software side, especially when you're putting it into some form of enterprise, is the impact matrix, right? What's it gonna, we're doing this, does it hurt anything else, right? And boy, when I was at Sabre, they had ridiculous impact matrices, right? We're sitting there doing something on, I remember, it was Sabre had some very limited things at that point in time. We had 13 bits basically available to say, do they have, I think it was a swimming pool or parking or something like that. All these kind of basic sort of things that people wanted to have just flag. Does the hotel have this to be flagged? That's great. So we're putting those in, and I mean, we know where that code is. It's just going here. It existed. We're just changing the flag value, right? There's some code impacting these bits. We had to go run that through and see, does that impact the airfare matrix? The guys who are doing faring for the main airline, does that affect, whatever, the scheduling algorithm for American Airlines? And you're like, what? That has nothing to do with it. But you don't know, right? I mean, again, a lot of these, software development environments, it's containerized, it's out, it's in these different areas where you can start building it kind of on your own. You can use your own terms, your own it bolts on, everything is great until you go, oh, something else somewhere is using that term? Who knew that CIS was check-in sequence, where that instead is, I don't know, something really important, computer information system, and that bit turns on or something, completely makes the other thing go dark, right?
It's like the chaos theory. The fluttering wings of a butterfly create a war on the other side of the world.
And if the security and all the stuff, if somebody made a mistake, or even the underlying system made the mistake, right? Where I was involved with Y2K at Sabre that time, right? And people don't even remember that, but going up 1998, 1999, people were freaking out because computers were going to stop on January 1st, 2000, because they had a little register that said, oh, it was 12/31/99. And the next day it was going to be 01/01/00. 00 is less than 99. That is back in time. That's the same as 1900. What did the software anticipate that? And the answer in many cases was no, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And
I
so
remember Y2K. Y2K was a big deal back then.
well, but I'll tell you, here's the thing. We had to go through all that stuff, and everybody hated it, right? Because you're just going through and you're signing. And I mean, I was signing off on stuff that had literally 12 lines of analysts and programmers below it saying that they had checked their code, right? And it's kind of like, how many people just said, yeah, somebody else signed it, it's not me, and going. But we were a little bit more diligent than that. That was good. Guess what we discovered? The Sabre platform, right? The software that runs the Sabre GDS thing, which is still in use today, right, on the TPF platform, was acquired from Apollo, which was United Airlines, in 1984, right? They got a license for that and modified it. Well, I don't know. The original developer in 1984 probably wasn't thinking about his computer programming working 15 years later, because the coding for this stuff was only happening 5 years before, right? That's a long, many, many life cycles away, right? Well, what happened? They had a date that was not, December 31st. It was something like 9 months earlier, because he picked, I don't know, his grandmother's birthday as day one. I don't know what he did, but the register had a certain number of values that went ascending. It was of such and such a size, and it ran out of values that it could store on like April 12th or something. I mean, some crazy number. We discovered that through Y2K. If the Y2K initiative hadn't happened, Sabre would have gone dark for hotels on, April 12th. Every American Express travel agent who was a quarter or maybe a fifth of Sabre's hotel business couldn't book a hotel, right? And attach that to their airfare, it would have been, just complete chaos. So, it's, these little bombs are out there, and some of it's code base, and now you've got to contend with hackers, right? Of someone who's in there, not just an oops, it was a mistake. It's like someone's intentionally looking for a gap they can crawl through. So yeah, it's scary stuff.
It is that. All right, so some topics that you put into the list. Let's grab some out of the hat and refer to them specifically, so our listeners that aren't watching us know what we're going to talk about for the next couple of content. So you get to grab the next couple of ideas. Since you put the list together. Since you put this wonderful list.
Hang on. Okay. Hang on. I'm posting something very quickly, and then let me find the little quote from Bill Gurley here. I just liked the way he phrased this, which was oops. Okay, here it is. Quote, "For the life of me, I cannot understand what is wrong with the hotel industry in the United States when it comes to technology."
What was he referring to?
Wide-ranging state, and it was just a complete, blanket diss. And I talked to him after the show, which again is an amazing thing you can do at Focusrite. And I basically went up and said, on behalf of the global hotel industry, regarding your comment on hotel technology, bless you. Because that will. I mean, that shot should get people's attention, because, my God, it's like, hey, this guy doesn't like investing in this hotel tech stack, right? Because or maybe he wants to invest if it's good and it fixes the problem. He's recognized that it's trash, so let's go fix it. I mean, there are two sides of it where that should motivate people.
Let me take something out of your statement, and let's clarify with some people that may not know when we talk about
Bill Gurley's statement. I only vehemently agreed with him. Yeah.
Right. You mentioned tech stack, and it's a term that we throw around. We often don't describe as to what exactly that is. We say, oh, well, what is your tech stack?
Right.
So I don't know if there's a clear definition of it unless we look it up on Wikipedia, but if you would be so kind as to talk a little bit about what your interpretation of when we refer to tech stack, what you're saying that means.
When I use the term when I work, what VCs or private equity guys, the tech stack are all the interrelated systems that support these processes and functions that in this case may run a hotel. And there is an entire gamut of these systems which may go all the way from, some sort of online CRM profile tracking, process over here that's being handled by software A that's integrated into your website and your internet booking engine on your website. Well, actually, your website, the content management system, very much may be very different than the booking engine. Those would be two different components of this tech stack. You may have, again, profiling. That may be something else. It might tie into a central reservation system. That's another one. Property manages all those different pieces and components and chunks. And you can start, yes, it's a revenue management system, but are there various pieces of functionality that are out there looking for competitive information and scraping rates from other competitors? Are they looking at flight loads, right, from another source? Those may be certain modules that are all different parts of the tech stack. So when I look at it as a tech stack, it's like, what is the assemblage of these underlying core systems that are basically going to run, in this case, a hotel, right? So yeah, and there are a lot of processes, right, and a lot of systems for, it's the HVAC control stuff. It's security, right? All the security cameras and things like that tie into the internet, process. Oh, is there a control system over the internet, right? Because, what's playing traffic cop to limit things when your pipes are getting saturated, or who gets priority, right? All that sort of stuff is all part of this giant tech stack. And again, you pretty much have to take a holistic view of it, because if you don't, again, you've got gaps, you've got incompatibilities, you've got inefficiencies, you've got duplicating data, things like that, which just that's not good. And you're running afoul of regulations like GDPR, right? You have your tech stack, you have a European traveler's information on this interwoven complex of 20 different software platforms, and they come in and go, my stuff needs to disappear. Okay, as the data processor, you're responsible to make that happen all the way through.
Right.
Maybe easier said than done, right?
And that's the other thing. We've had this as a discussion on the show before. Our hospitality ecosystem for technology is incestuous at best and dysfunctional at as a standard, because we don't interlope with each other well. If anything can be monetized, it is, even at the expense of your client's quality of service. But
that's a business model, unfortunately.
Right.
It's vendor. The business model is vendor lock-in, right?
Yeah.
You get them on the platform.
If I use a PMS system or CRM system, then I am proprietarily married to that provider and what they allow or don't allow in connectivity at that point. And if anything, they think that I will spend more money for to have the service capability of it, they want to monetize it themselves and build it themselves. Even if it's already present in the market, they won't connect to it. So if I'm using a PMS system.
Yeah, one adjustment though, just very quickly. I wouldn't say marriage. Marriage, there's generally a consensual, I do on both parts. Now maybe it's considered a prearranged marriage, right? Where your PMS provider is telling you who you're going to marry. So.
Yeah, that's true too. And the sad part of it is that, while you wait for your provider to build this additional service capability, they usually don't do it near as well as what was in the free market built by somebody else that they refuse to connect to, or charge you a ludicrous amount of money to simply flip a switch to connect to them, to have the privilege of paying for more services. And so in our conversations on the show, and we've had this before with our other co-hosts, is the smarter version of all this is to find a data layer that you build that turns into the Rosetta Stone of communication to best in industry connectivity. So you're no longer hampered by what your service provider is willing to give you, but instead you create a data layer over them that allows to connect to anything you want to connect to them, and they lose the control of leverage at that point, which is It's a long road to hoe,
Well,
because
yeah.
you have to build it or find it to be built. But once you do, it gives you ultimately the best control over your service providing services.
Well, and here's the thing: in some fairness to let's just say the old PMS providers, right? The legacy PMS providers, who are that was their business, or is their business model still for most of them.
Yes.
Like Apple, though, Apple is a vendor lock-in company in terms of a complete business model, right? Now,
Yes.
what did they do? They drew some lines around that, right? Because they said, okay, we've got this. You can't just come in and mess with our hardware and add stuff and do whatever. But then they created the App Store, right? Now they have some pretty ironclad governance over what happens, and every once in a while
And a
they
large share of profitability.
and they do. They take a third, or 30%, right, of any profits going in there. And if you're driving profit now externally, they've looked through the code, they know how that works, and they have shut that down, right?
Yep.
So you can say, yeah, that's really evil, but Apple stuff, being a guy who's, I am a PC, Android, Google camp person, right? Their stuff tends to work better, right? Because it's all integrated. They control the hardware, they control the software. It's a lot easier when you have all that stuff, and it's easier to keep anyone misbehaving out when you have that kind of governance and control. But I mean, again, for the hoteliers with these PMSs, they would, okay, you sign up for this thing, right? You got to pay a lot of money. In many cases, big service contracts, right, for ongoing maintenance. Then you need an interface. The interface is proprietary. You pay a bunch of money for it. But on the other side, the group that they're, the POS company or whatever it may be that you're hooking up with, the revenue management system, they paid a ton of money to get certified on the platform, right? But they don't get a revenue share back. I mean, at least in the Apple world, there's a revenue share for the App Store and things like that. They had to pay in and say, okay, good, I've been certified, I'm now on the list. And yes, they had to meet certain standards and things like that, and compatibility. No problems with that. That's good. You shouldn't just be able to bolt this stuff on and not know what it does. That's irresponsible. But all of a sudden they go, wait a second, now you're selling it to those guys, and it took us 9 months to get certified. That's insane. And now you're charging them, tens of thousands of dollars to go do this. Wow, that's just an awful system. And what's the worst part? It inhibits innovation on that platform, right? Because you've got to pay so much, you can't get the clever little startup guy who goes and goes, hey, what about this that works really cleanly and simply, and we can do this and make this work better. It was like the who's the guy with before check-in?
Yes.
What's his name? I don't think it was that. It was
he had a unique name, and golly gee, I can't remember what it is.
I can't remember.
But he was
before
great. He did Oracle.
Yeah.
He's the Oracle.
Agilysys, right? So this guy has a little small company. I think it's probably five people or so, maybe larger. Maybe it's larger now, in Nova Scotia. And
Halifax,
he wound up working with, first, I think, with Agilysys, because they were doing certain basically integration work, right, for folks to do it with this. Well, Agilysys wound up outsourcing a lot of what they did to this guy, because his team was really good, right? They knew their API really well and could, they just had better developers, because again, that wasn't really the Agilysys guy's core skill, right? They're kind of good on that side of the API, not really on the other side of it, right? Which is fine. And no slams on Agilysys for that. That's people are good at what they're good at, and that's great. Focus is very important in technology development. But they came out, and what did they come up with in the whole Agilysys world? I don't know how many installed base, but they're in some mega casinos in Vegas and major resorts. They're a big player. They had no way to process an advanced deposit with PCI compliance. And you just look at it and go, wait, stop. That's impossible, sort of thing. But it was. And these guys built it, and that was great. Well, then what did they do? They went to Oracle, because Oracle had the same problem. And you're like, hey, Oracle has owned, Micros Fidelio for a while now. They should be able to figure it out. Well, yeah, Oracle can go build anything. It's just time and money and prioritization, right? But the ROI on it, the size of it, wasn't big enough to get any attention of Oracle. So it gets prioritized down. It never gets done. And these guys do it. And so they've now written this little process to go do it. They had to wait 9 months to get certified on Oracle. It's out there. It works great. And hey, if you want PCI compliant advanced deposits coming off your system, you should be using that, because why do you want checks? Why do you want people, emailing you credit card numbers is not a good scenario. That's certainly violating PCI compliance. Faxing them, yeah, that's okay, but you have duplication. Those faxes are hanging. I mean, come on, this should be, again, core functionality, but takes a little,
Right.
This little innovative company, and again, they were patient enough. And I got, from their business model, figured, okay, the outcome of going through the gauntlet of pain, I don't know what the, $20,000, $30,000 to Oracle or whatever, because Oracle has to take the time to go certify the thing and figure it out, to, pay that nut to Oracle, wait 9 months. What's the upside to sell it? They should be selling it to a lot of people. So, yeah, but again, how much did that process and that lock-in hinder innovation? If there was an Oracle App Store where people could, keep 70% of the revenue, where, of the stuff they built that bolted on, and Oracle kept 30, that would be an entirely different platform, right? And I would venture to say, sorry, friends at Oracle, you would have a hell of a lot more properties on your cloud platform.
Sure, absolutely.
Hey, undeniably, yeah.
So, venturing off all the videos that you put into our wonderful stack of curated content,
Lauren, I think I figured out a way. If we just show 30-minute videos ourselves, we can buy.
You might. This is like, right.
Yeah, Lauren's tea time movies now for them.
We do. Was it Science Theater 3000?
Yeah.
Sit back in shadows against the screen and just bash the video the whole time.
Yep.
But no, there is a couple of questions, a couple of topics you had out there that I want to hit. There's a couple of things. One of them was under your intermediaries category. Was price parity a major issue for European hotelers? I would like to echo what the content of that article was. I mean, it's a Focusrite article, I understand, but
well, that was I think it was a FocusWire article, so that's kind of the.
Oh, that's right, Focuswire. Yes, you're right. You're right. It is a FocusWire article. Similar, but not the same.
Well, FocusWire is owned by Focusrite, but it's the news component. Not the Focusrite stuff is really kind of the research and the conference, right? Yeah.
So, the idea of it is that. Going to this is that this is turning into a principal function of all revenue management services, and it is now crept in, I have to say firsthand, into the world of marketing strategies as well, because rate parity and the usability of rate parity is a critical component to the success of marketing strategy as well as revenue strategy. And what I'm finding is that revenue managers, in order to pull every lever and push every button in a way to optimize whatever channel contribution can be created, end up sometimes inadvertently shooting themselves in the foot by either diversification of the rate strategies, or because of all the contractual relationships with so many places, anybody that they can give a rate relationship to, with the repercussions that the Agodas, and I'll call them up by name because they're the most atrocious abusers.
Not Agoda, a MoMA.
A MoMA too, but I mean Agoda seems to be for me right now.
MoMA's I would say an order of magnitude above Agoda.
Okay, I'll throw. For either case, they're
Agoda is part of Booking Holdings, and so they're basically pulling a lot of stuff. They're the Asian component of Booking Holdings, so they're pulling now from the unified booking price line, morass of content and data. So they're pretty reined in. They don't have, they may have some affiliates doing some weird stuff to their things. Yeah, and that certainly may be the case, but Amoma's the one who's kind of the poster child right now, and everybody's having issues with it. So
yeah, well, the idea of this is that we're actually we're putting some teeth to the penalties now. Before, the simple or the historical process was you find out a rate that's stupid being offered, usually an HPA or something like MetaChannel or something like that.
Yeah.
You have to book it, which is usually non-refundable, so you're throwing away money to research this. Find out you book it, so you find out what code was used to go then chase down who had that code, so that you can go over and tell them, look, you're selling this rate, you're not supposed to, and don't do it anymore. Cease and desist.
Right.
We're taking a stronger attack to it now, where and we're going back to the fundamental relationship of buying wholesale inventory. You buy saying, I'm going to buy 10,000 room nights a year from you. Now, as a wholesaler that during off season, you're probably not going to be able to exercise the option on a lot of those rooms, because you can't sell them just like the hotel can't sell them on their off market. You're really negotiating your volume purchase so that you can yield better rates during peak season, where you can margin your sales on there. Okay.
Right.
So wholesalers will go over and allow, or actually solicit, to hand out these inventories to sell, to try to make something off it while it's still out there, or in the case of
in scenarios where there's inventory risk, right? They've got a block of rooms that they need to sell, or they have some sort of volume goal that they have to achieve, because they have a minimum number. You're on the hook for 100 rooms a night in these hotels, or 30,000 rooms a month, or whatever, 3,000 rooms a month, could be whatever you have. And they look at it and go, we can't sell it at our regular rates. Our ability to aggregate demand is insufficient. We're 200 rooms short, or 2,000 rooms short. Who can sell it for me? If I can get 75 cents on the dollar, that's better than nothing, right?
Right.
And that's when the wheels start to fall off.
Right. So what we're doing now is we find somebody, and we find them in violation, and we send it to them saying, guess what? You just lost 20 rooms out of prime book window. It's taken off your inventory.
Well, you have to be careful. Well, okay, here's my process. And having run Mark Travel's platform for this, right, where we were doing millions of passengers and working with a lot of... One is, I don't think I'm talking out of school. I eliminated all of our block agreements, basically. Right? We could achieve the same common rules and pricing and things like that without taking inventory risk, because the block agreement, unless you're really kind of a specialized case, I would say in certain cases of student travel and things like that, right, where you certainly know you have control of demand, it's going here, or you're controlling the flights, right? In classic charter scenarios, then that's fine, right? You can, then it makes sense to do it. Otherwise, though, for a lot of hotels, if you have to do 10 rooms a night and they've written the contract in a certain way, you're playing Tetris, right? I mean, you've got the person's in Sunday, out Wednesday, but then somebody's coming in on Friday. You've got a hole in there. That's 1/7 of the rooms, because you're stacking them into, they may have specific room numbers you're filling, right? Because they gave you a floor. All of a sudden, 1/7 of your potential revenue that you can't fill structurally, it's gone, right? That's your profit margin is It's a bad business unless you are really, really good at it. And I got rid of almost all of those. Here's what the problem is. And I'll use Mark Travel as an example. And certainly when I was there, I don't think they're still, I can't imagine they shifted the strategy. But when I was there, I did not want people, onwardly distributing things and undercutting prices, because we were there to support our hotel partners as much as possible. We wanted them to generate as much revenue as possible through us, so we could make more, right? So that was the bottom, that was the bottom line. So, but we used our inventory for, yes, we would negotiate deals with Southwest Airlines Vacations and United Vacations and all these in terms of demand aggregation. Then we'd have a contract with the hotel. That's great. Well, we also had Mark International, which was an inbound receptive operator. So what they would do is they would work with travel agencies and all these guys around the world and say, yes, we are doing this. You can book this stuff. And here's the functionality that we have where you can book hotel only, or you can book air, air hotel combinations. And wow, look at the prices on the air hotel combinations, because those are package rates. You can get something really, really great with that. Well, in some cases, if you couldn't book the air on our platform, because we didn't have arrangements with that particular carrier, because it's international, it's Air Myanmar or something like that. I mean, who knows where they are, right? Okay, that's fine. Well, what some of these unsavory tour operators are doing out there, because Mark Travel was really the wholesaler, they go and they take that rate for air only combinations gets exposed, right? And it's supposed to be sold in a package, but they're so far away, and they figure nobody will see it. They just start selling that, and they go, well, yeah, it's supposed to be marked up to, whatever amount, but we'll take off 10%, we'll take off 30%, whatever, we'll make $5 on it. Who cares? Because who knows what their business model is, and they may be stupid, right? They may have a bad business model where they're losing money, but that's how it kind of gets it. And if they go do it with a Google hotel price ad, whoop, all of a sudden that little breadcrumb off in the corner of the world is now globally out there. So the 4-step process for the hoteliers, okay? If you don't follow this process, shut up and stop whining. Okay.
Robert has spoken.
Right. One is you need to keep an eye on this and scan these and look for people who are doing it. If you're too lazy to do it, then it's just not important enough. So shut up. It's out there. It happened. It's the classic. How do hotels deal with any sort of disruption? It's a 4-step process. One is to ignore it. At the second stage, after being told you need to pay attention to it, they continue to ignore it. Number 3, they freak out and panic. And number 4 is then they resign themselves. They can't do anything about it and complain. So let's stop that behavior cycle. So anyway, you monitor it. Number 2, when you're monitoring, find something. You can try to sleuth around and figure out where it is. You probably won't be able to do that because, again, if you mentioned blocks, that block, you may not get the rooming list until a couple days before. It may say you need to get the room list a day before arrival, right? I don't know when the cutoff is on the block, sort of thing. So there may be a gap in there. So that's going to be hard to hunt down. But then the last one is you've got to buy it, right? And who gets most? You should be getting most of the money. You're selling your own room, and it's all the margin in there. Oh, I'm sorry. Because of that little aside on the 4-step, I forgot step process 1 is having well-written agreements, which basically say
negotiate the violation of rate offerings. Yes.
This is a room. This is a package rate. It must be purchased simultaneously with a such and such with an opaque price on the, it must be a combined.
But you have to caveat that you have to put a penalty now in it by saying, should it be discovered that the penalty of this being discovered is being used not in this process, that you will be penalized X.
Oh, no. Oh, you can just put, what I like to do is just put violations of these terms and agreement, and you can repeat it, down somewhere else and basically say, these terms are violations of the agreement and violate the whole thing can stop, right? You can just pull it out, and they are liable for damages and all this stuff. This kind of standard boilerplate. You just go boom, because why limit your damages, right? You say you owe us $1,000. Well, if they're out there, they could look at, somebody might make a business decision on that and go, cool, pay the fine, right? I don't care. We can make a ton of money. Screw them. We've got a 3-year deal with them because, why would you do that? But here you go. So you need a well-written agreement. You need to monitor those rates. When that happens, you need to book the rate so you have absolute certainty. Nope, we use the name, Lauren Gray. we have a reservation here with Lauren Gray, and it was you, sort of thing. You're responsible, right, for all this onward distribution. And if they say, we don't know, it's not us, it's like, we don't work with you anymore. So I had a conversation again at the Focusrite conference with a major bed bank, and there aren't that many major bed banks left. But we talked about this scenario and actually used a MoMA as the example, who they work with, right? And they understand it's a problem. And I go, right, and I've got an easy way to work with you, especially if I'm a big chain. I go, hey, you messed up at the hotel in Poughkeepsie. Guess what? You get none of our inventory for any of our hotels if you're going to keep this happening. And all of a sudden they go, oh crap, Mr. Marriott, that's not good. They aren't going to do that. They will rein. Now, in some cases they can't, right? But at least you can talk to them about the processes that they're doing, that they don't do this. If these bad actors are called out, that they are shut down, right? So they can run a clean program, because it's like, if you don't run a clean program, you're going to go, right. You're going down, right? That little guy out there is messing with your business. If you're okay with that, that's fine. A, we don't want to do business with you, and two, you're a stupid person.
Well, and there's a ramification I want to explain too for those that may not keep a firm hand on the tiller when it comes to their payment strategies for their paid ad campaigns. When you have this diluted rate abuse, where somebody is pinging you with this should not be out there in market rate, all the monies you're spending for paid direct channel go into the trash. You just burned it. Because no matter how much you directed traffic and got the attention of potential guests, when they look at you and then they look at this rate that is substantially lower than what you're saying your rate is, they're going to buy it over there. And so all that money you spent in getting their attention just literally got wasted. Not that you didn't get a booking. You got a booking that was at a lower cost than you wanted it for, and no credit to your paid campaign.
And you probably had no idea what the actual price was paid, right? Because there is no mechanism to keep track of that stuff at all, right? I mean, it's out there. The wholesale price, and maybe you should care what the retail price is, but you don't know. And
the other is that you have to have a substantive best rate guarantee. You can't just say I have the best rate guarantee and leave it at that. You have to give a value proposition for somebody. And yes, you're going to eat dirt, because if they bring you one of these randomized, should have been opaque rates, and it's ridiculously low, and you have to not only honor that rate, but then give them the bonus that you're offering as the incentive for the best rate guarantee, you're eating it even worse. Albeit that, and keeping communication directly with them for the repetitive value of that guest lifetime value, than it is to not have that, lost the opportunity to engage them like that, and still just had it as a dirt cheap offer that they picked up from someplace else. Anyway.
One more thing. Kellen Smith, she's only been at Hilton for 9 months, right? Former chief marketing officer of Uber has changed Hilton's strategy, and she announced it on stage and it wasn't an announcement. She just said, here's what we are doing, right? Hilton is no longer talking about book direct. That isn't a thing anymore for Hilton.
I like this too. Yes.
It is not book direct. It is direct relationships.
Yes. I think it's a brilliant statement. Statement.
And what did she back it up with? Because this woman, she is, as I told everybody, whip smart rock star. I mean, you look at Uber and it's smart, and how and yes, they had problems with Travis and things like that, but boy, that thing was put together really smartly and really data performance marketing oriented, right? That is really the bottom line of it. But what did she do? They ran some ads. They did she started off, she said, we did a lot of research, which is how she starts almost every sentence for anything they do, right? We did a lot of research. And what did they do? They did some television advertising, and they did Anna Kendrick doing this thing about what you can do with Hilton, and they're really good ads, right? And I'm not their target market. Actually, Anna Kendrick scores very well across kind of all demographics. She's a very likable person. The script doesn't treat her as Anna Kendrick. She says we. She is Hilton. She's the voice of Hilton. In one of the ads, she pops into a Hilton shirt and gives the line of what Hilton would say, right? Which is great. So she is Hilton. But they said the scores within, what did she say, 6 weeks of running this, the number of mentions in social channels from millennials about Hilton has doubled, or something like that. And so, and the the scores in terms of the tone, it isn't like Hilton sucks, or it's like they love this, they like it because it's all about relationship and how these guys are going to take care of them and do things and help them have great experiences for the various personas that she plays, because they have 3 ads. One of them, she's a daughter, right? And she's talking about her family and all the things of how they like it. And they're like, and she goes, and for me, at the Waldorf Astoria pool or whatever. They go, but isn't your family in Florida? And she's like, yeah. It's great. I mean, it's outstanding. Then another one is it's her talking to a friend. So it's like friends going through, and this stuff doesn't. Good advertising doesn't happen by accident, right? They did the research. They figured out the relevant messaging. And that's why I told Kellen, I said, wow, isn't it amazing what the magic of relevant messaging and Anna Kendrick can do for you? Sort of thing, right? And that's what it is. Because, they're really smart. They figured out the target. They ran a bunch of research. They figured out what's important, right? The voice of customer. And then they said, okay, now what's the best? We know what we need to communicate. Oh, and the big thing she said, she quoted, it's a famous Einstein quote where it's you want to be as simple as possible, but not too simple, right? Too simple is bad. But that's the whole thing. They're getting rid of all this crap. They're talking about the best rate guarantee that they've had for 3 decades or something. And again, Anna Kendrick will say, yeah. Because they're talking about, well, yeah, you book on these other sites, and what do you get? And it's a problem. She goes, no, if you book with us, because we'll give you the best rate, and if you found something lower, we'll give you 25% more, sort of thing, right? We stand behind our pricing, and come to us and trust us. And the reason she gave for it, and I really recommend reading or watching the interview. She said I can't remember the term she used. It wasn't astonishing. It was worse. I think it was like atrocious or something like that. Trust deficit for hotels that they found in this research was these guys aren't trusting the major hotel brands and all the OTAs and all this crap and the Google ad. There's so much clutter. They aren't trusting the hotel operators. And the kind of bottom line is if you don't have trust as a brand, you're screwed. But if you don't have trust in hospitality, what do you have as a business, sort of thing? So yeah, they're hitting back at the roots of it, and it's pretty smart. But on these rates, again, at the Focusrite conference, there was a HSMAI panel, and it had KJ Curry and Jacob from Highgate Holding, which is kind of their venture firm, but they run a lot of hotels. Dorothy Dowling from CMO of Best Western. Jeff Senior, who's the Senior VP of Marketing for KSL. KSL owns a lot of resorts and Outrigger and things like that. And may have been another person, I'm not sure. But anyway, they had those guys on stage, and they started talking about variable pricing. And KJ, brilliant guy, great revenue manager. Boy, personalized pricing, just wait. You think you have problems now with this rate stuff, but it's going to be, trying to get a handle on that and to be clever. It's a viper pit, folks. I mean, I would say be very, very, unless you, again, really know what you're doing, it's going to be all over the place and result in a lot of lawsuits for people unintentionally disenfranchised by, why am I paying $20 more? For you don't stay with us very often. Well, why don't I stay with you very often? Oh, well, you aren't really in our income demographic. Oh, are you now starting to, charge people who are lower income higher rates? That's not a good scenario. So
and then this goes into a conversation I had when I just finished last week doing the rocket programs in Toronto and Boston,
Right.
as I mentioned in the show. And I'm going to add into the next series next year some of the things that have changed in China. I show obviously the New York Times video about WeChat and how and WhatsApp and how it's used and so forth. But there is a thing that people may not be aware of in China, but there is a social score that's being used culturally in the country. That if you have a low social score, you pay higher interest. You don't have access to certain events and venues. You struggle getting a job because it's in reference to whether you can get employed someplace. The better the score, the more free flowing things are. There's no method to control it in the sense that you can petition that. Why do I have this score? Show me why I got ranked this way so I can justify or dispute it. There's none of that. It's done by the government.
Yeah.
And they control what they rank you as. And to show you how ludicrous this is and how bad it would be for me, if you are in the liquor store, that's a negative social score. If you go to the liquor store, how often do you go to the liquor store or something? So if you're picking up a 6-pack of beer or a case of beer, you're making a negative impact on your social score because obviously good people or good social people don't do that. And to me, it's reverse. Hey, if I bring a 6-pack of beer, I'm a very social person.
Well, and again, that's what we're talking about, tech stack and things like that, right? That's another part of it. The whole payment processing. What about being able to pay on time and things like that for vacations? Brian Barth, who is the founder of Sidestep, the first really smart guy, the first meta search platform for travel, right? Really good stuff. I did some work for him a dozen years ago. Great guys. He has a product called Uplift, and actually Tom Botts, who was previously with Denahan, is now with them as well. These guys are out there saying, hey, do you want to pay for travel on time? So you're selling on your website and you can go give them these prices. Well, what are they doing? They're going out and they're kind of playing with these lenders of going, hey, these people are taking their trip. They do this. It's a very specific use case, right, of how people behave. And now they have all the behavioral stats and they can lower the price, right? As opposed to putting it on your credit card where people are getting charged 19% or something like that. They're it's not, 1%, but it's still much cheaper, much more affordable. And then what they discovered is that if people need a little bit of flexibility, they're like, hey, I've got a problem with such and such. I'm going to, instead of just coming in and clobbering them, right? And just, all of a sudden, interest rates quadruple, these really bad things. They work with them because they want them to use the platform, to use it on another trip, and they want them to be able to pay this thing off, right? They don't want a business where they're out, loan sharking and having fun breaking people's knees. And they are getting, for breaking people's knees for fun and profit, right?
They hired Tim Peter from Jersey. He brings Joey Bag of Donuts, and Tommy No Thumbs.
They
and,
don't.
That's the Jersey
they don't
way.
go that low. No, loan sharks don't do that. They don't. There's a line. There's a professional brotherhood that draws a line on.
You're behind on your billing.
No, but anyway, they've raised a lot. I think the official raise, I think they're 98 million right now, and I would guess they're going to do something much bigger because again, they've got the stats and they're saying we have these lower frequency travelers, or they're lower frequency travelers, and in some cases they're lower income ranges, but in some cases they're mid-income ranges and upper income ranges because if you're doing a big trip somewhere, you don't necessarily, you might want to pay that off over time. It's it's the 25th family reunion or the last thing with grandpa, and if you can't really go, I'm going to pay it all right now, that makes a lot of sense.
Okay, so let me ask, why do you think there's going to be such legalities associated with personalized pricing? Because right now we already are influenced by these things. Because consider this: credit scores, you have credit limits, whether you pay interest or non-interest. So you're identified by your ability to repay. Right. Rewards programs. If you're not an elite person, you're in back of the bus when it comes to getting on top of the
That's right.
plane, or what seat you even have availability. So we're already being influenced by preferential treatment. First class is first class, you know?
That's absolutely.
And so personalized pricing is going to be no different in the sense that, hey, I want to reward you for whatever it is reason, and I don't want to reward because
you hit on it right there. For whatever it is reason.
Right.
Now, you got some lawyers involved with the terms of for whatever it is reason.
Whatever reason.
Different things may happen. But no, and I'm also serious on this. Let's say that for some reason a class action attorney who are well compensated, very often on contingencies, so only when they win, they start figuring some stuff out, and you start getting your records subpoenaed to start showing, hey, a particular minority group, and I don't care if it's African Americans, Hispanics, left-handed people, women, I don't know,
hey,
right? Whatever that.
Hey,
exactly.
Wait. What's with the hey, Ravy with the left-handed people
with beards? Yes.
Okay, now we're into some sensitivities.
Right? some sort of, and when I say minority group, it could be racial, it could be socioeconomic, it could be whatever. Right. If they are getting disenfranchised, and if you say we're making them we're charging them a higher rate, and you can't prove that that's because you have some sort of risk of not getting paid, right? You go, what? You're going to get paid. They have a credit card. It's an advance. They're trying to save 15% on their advance purchase, but you're only letting them save 5%. Why?
Right.
It's like, and now you've structured. I'll give you a great example. I was at a ATME. Unfortunately, the Associated Travel Marketing Executives Association, which is kind of defunct. Barney Harford, who was running Orbitz at that point in time, on stage, had left Expedia, is running Orbitz. He gets up and he's talking. The morning there was a Wall Street Journal article that said Orbitz was profiteering from Apple users, iOS and Mac OS users. It was like, oh my God, front page. I think it was front page of the Wall Street Journal, right? Orbitz stock dropped 5 points, right? It was 5%. It was bad. What was it? They had done some analytics, and Orbit was a very analytics-driven company. They looked at it and said, hey, when we do our sort order on the hotels, we discovered if you're on an iOS device or Mac OS device, whatever, because they get those signals through the browser, which is great. They go, hey, those guys prefer 4-star hotels. And if you're on an Android, and they had the booking data to back it up, right? They had behavioral data saying the higher probability on an iOS device is they're going to book the 4-star hotel in Chicago versus the Android user is booking the 3-star hotel, or whatever range that was, right? Whatever properties, it could be region, distance, specific properties, whatever the case may be. They were putting 4-star hotels at the top and the less expensive 3 stars at the bottom. A reporter, and probably someone who tipped off the reporter, looked at that and went, they're screwing Apple users, right? That's a headline. That is that's getting people's attention. That's a lawyer sitting back there going, we got a class action suit with a bunch of wealthy people, right? Let's go, who are really going to be pissed off, right? Unfortunately, lower income ranges, they get screwed a lot because they can't afford the top flight lawyers to defend themselves. The really wealthy people can go class action in a big way, right?
Speaking of lawyers,
they worked it out. But those things, the interpretation, the cat was out of the bag, damaged Orbitz's reputation for months, if not permanently, right? As the guys who were, if not, maybe it wasn't that, but Orbitz, I heard something about them screwing around with pricing, right?
All right.
That's not good. So, but again, these have real repercussions, either, actual in reality or in perception. And the perception is a hard.
Talking about lawyers and their infinite capabilities of finding free money. So right now, what's happening, for those who may not, and those who have their website, this is a word of caution that needs to go out for a valid reason. Obviously, ADA compliance is a huge concern always and persistently. It's a necessary component because until you have the need to use an engagement with a website where you can't see it or something, you have to use keyboards, do you really understand the value proposition of why ADA compliant website requirements are important? You need to have the ability to engage a website, since it's turning into the modem that we all use it for. And if you have a particular inability to engage it, whether visually or audibly or whatever, you need this functionality. Not taking anything away.
And you want, yes, if you do a good job with it, that is an absolutely outstanding sector of the business who will be loyal to you, right?
Yes.
I mean, it's the best business you can get.
Cannot say enough about why that's important. Now, that said, here's the timeline of some things that are happening. The Obama administration had a minimum requirement guideline that was being brought in that was supposed to roll into effect sometime in September. Where it was supposed to come out and say, hey, look, here's the Pandora's box of all the things that we identify as ADA compliant items for online marketing. And these minimums must be maintained. Well, the Trump administration, in anything anti-Obama, nixed it and did not let it roll out. So there is no identifier as to what's considered minimum guidelines or standards associated with all the ADA compliance, which now means any aspect that is not compliant within the ADA spectrum, I just lost Robert, means that there could be a lawsuit. So what's happening now, unfortunately, is lawyers are running around and literally just looking blanket at right now hotels, websites, and if they find anything that isn't completely compliant, and so you understand the compliancy is basically a white background with black letters and complete functionality in keyboards and really minimal. Most websites don't fully comply just from the aesthetic value associated with website development. And this goes to brands and what have you. They file a lawsuit for settlement that basically says, pay me money not to sue you. So it's in a strange way, almost like extortion money in that sense. So that's going on out there right now. And a lot of that's going on out there right now. And there are things that you can do. One of the strongest things that you can do for your website is to show that you're making every effort to comply with all the ADA guidelines. Put it in what's called in your footer, which is the bottom part of your website. Put a direct link that says, if you find anything that isn't functional for you navigation-wise, or you can't get to a certain aspect of the website because of whatever restrictiveness it may be, whether something doesn't work or doesn't, please let us know so that we can go over and address it and fix it. Our intent is to keep our website completely available to all people that need access to it. And even to the point that if you can't find access to it, here's a direct contact with us so that we can help you find what it is you're looking for, because we want you to be able to find every aspect of our website. At least do that into your website so that should these wonderful legal people look at your website, they'll be less inclined to pursue you, because at least if it were that you don't want to pay them this settlement money and intend to bring it to court, it's a very strong case to make that, Your Honor, we're trying everything we can to make sure that our site is compliant and that everything about communications that we openly and solicit engagement with our site so that people can tell us if there's something that's not working so we can get it fixed right away. So we don't feel like this is a lawful suit. So, that's the kind of conversation to this. Now, I do not know what happened to Mr. Robert. He literally blinked out. So I do not know. But I will go over and say that we are pretty much well into the show of an hour and a half. I regret to say that Mr. Matt Allard with Runtriz, I got an email from him about a half hour ago or so saying that he never got the information he needed to join or something. I'm not really quite sure. So we won't be having him on the show. And unfortunately, it was going to be an interesting conversation if we did, but technology is great when it works. Now, not knowing whether Robert's going to make it back or not, I'm going to wrap up our conversations from today. Mr. Robert Cole from Rock Cheetah. If you would like to find out more information about him and also all the Focusrite information, you can go to rockcheetah.com. Also, for the replay of this show and all 170 other previous shows, we keep them at hospitalitydigitalmarketing.com/live. There, for this show, you can go to link for show number 171. In there, you'll find all of the links that we're referring to for the videos. Mr. Robert, you're back. Oh, no audio.
Oh,
there you go. Now you're back.
Okay,
there you go.
Lauren.
Yep.
I now know why Tim never really wants to talk about politics on our show. You mentioned something about the Trump administration, and all of a sudden, my link went dark. So I knew the net neutrality thing was a big deal, but I had no idea it would have that kind of personal impact. So, wow.
Yeah,
But,
well, boom, Big Brother, right?
what were you throwing in the towel? Were you giving up on this thing?
I was closing
wasn't there.
I was well, we're at an hour and a half.
I'm the guy who's carrying the show. Does that mean I'm the guy who's
without you? There is no show, Mr. Robert. You know that. I mean, come on.
I had no idea.
I already did your epitaph of, if you want to find out everything that's intelligently known in the universe for hospitality, go to rockcheetah.com. I even made that. I even said that. It's like, wow. I thought
everyone already knew that. Oh,
well, that's what I thought too. But I just to make sure that
you should always balance out. You should always say it goes without saying to preface that.
It goes without saying that everything known good in the universe for hospitality is and resides at rockcheetah.com.
Yes, yes. A cul-de-sac site of timpeter.com. Although he does let me have my own URL.
Yes, we get to pick on Tim. He did let me know he was not able to join, and I was also mentioning the fact that Mr. Matt Allard, who was supposed to be with us from RunTriz, sent me a wonderful little email a half hour ago saying, "Oh, I never got a link to join." All right, that's how we find out by not showing up at the site. Great, good job.
There you go, Lauren. So
yeah, that's we won't be having
RunTriz. That's why you're. I guess That's why you're saying I'm responsible for the show. Got it. Now I understand.
Yes, RunTriz will not be on the show. But anyway, towards the end of all this, thank you very much for the time for the list. I was saying that for all of the links to the Focusrite videos, we did post one link up in the chat already on the side, but all of these links
all the stuff is under there, and it's great. Oh, can I just mention a couple other things that were the other one? This is more related to travel and hospitality, or to hotels. The Duetto guys, who just raised another $80 million, by the way. They have another. Boy, those Thayer guys and everything, they are all in on Duetto. They have raised, it's got to be getting close to 200 million. I don't know. I've lost track.
There was second that was 80. This is a third. That's another 80.
This is a Series 40, D. I think. This is a Series D round, right? So
they're going to be over 2.
But the guy who is their senior VP of product and analytics is Jeff Ma. Jeff Ma was the kid at MIT. Did you see the movie 21, where they go to Vegas and they're basically doing? That's the guy. And he's really good. He's really smart, right? And he's now working on their product and analytics stuff, right? I mean, he is very, very, very good. Understands game theory, all that sort of stuff. They're getting serious. Yeah. So.
Well, it's going to be interesting. I mean, the lion to slay, or the Goliath to slay, his ideas out there. SiteMinder also. I mean, they got some big players in market space that.
There's Rainmaker's in there. Ideas in there. Duetto's fighting. Duetto took an exceptionally long time to get to 1,000 hotels, right? Which I would say most investors would have gone, sorry guys, you're trying hard, but we've got other things over here in the hopper that, you're one of 50 investment or whatever the case may be, and you just didn't make the cut. We're really sorry.
Well, I can say, from working with them,
they didn't.
Yeah.
So.
No, they kept with them. I'm surprised that they got another 80. I mean, I'm not in a negative way. I'm not saying that in that sense. I'm just saying that that's a lot of perpetual investment for yet to be returned.
Yeah, but I think they see here's my guess, and I didn't have any conversations with anybody with Duetto there, and Jeff didn't say anything on stage, and I didn't talk to him. I wanted to grab him, but I couldn't track him down. But I think they probably have some interesting plays with either getting on cloud-based programs or PMS or some sort of integrations or something coming up where all of a sudden it's going to be really easy to do it, and they're the obvious choice, right? Through some sort of, I don't know if it's a new feature set enhancement. I don't know if it's an integration enhancement or whatever. Yeah. So, but yeah, I think I don't know. I would think this is kind of it. It's the come to Jesus time, and this is it. Here's the round. The investors believe it. They're going. Just saying, not knowing specifically, they've got a business plan, they've got this, the investors are with it, they've invested a lot, and they're like, okay, here we go, let's do this, let's execute. And that's what running startups is about, is execution. So,
and adoption.
Well, yeah, and probably the worst thing that could happen for them is there was a quick economic downturn, which again, their investors probably are thinking it's probably not happening.
Actually, knowing a little bit more about it in detail, I would say that even a downturn wouldn't slow down the adoption of it, because it does aggregate a lot of functionalities to a single process. And that was a cost savings or revenue generation expansion. So either way the market may go.
Yeah.
It's just
but again, well, we said with the tech stack, the problem though isn't just they come up with a better product and an integration solution. What's the, if you've got the old PMS there who's charging people $5,000 to bolt it on or something like that, there's a downturn. We've lived with it long enough. Once things get better, let's defer, right? That's what happens. All the tech spending gets pushed back, and they don't do it, right? So, anyway, but yeah, that'll be interesting. So yeah, I thought that was very interesting. I'm just looking kind of through the list. Yeah, there was a HomeAway trend report that was kind of cool. TripAdvisor's back at it. I didn't see Coffer's thing. He was presenting when I was back in the green room for hair and makeup. So, but,
I tell you what, I think one of the potential downfalls of TripAdvisor, or anybody that will eventually finally buy TripAdvisor, God knows it's been trying to put itself out there, is to get off this over bloated business listing cost. It is absolutely effing ridiculous, the price for the value proposition. Now, in some markets,
but that for a while, when it was lower, was the single best ROI anywhere, right?
Again, at a price point, it has value.
Right. Right. Absolutely. It was amazing, right? It was like everybody, if you don't do this, you're in it. Now they were able to escalate it, right? Based on the strength of their market, and to say, what's your ROI? Here's what we've calculated. Let's talk about. And now the question is, and again, I'm not saying this is right or wrong. This is just a business strategy, is to bring people up to the point where it's painful, but you still buy it because there's still value. There's still a better ROI on that than the alternatives, right? And that all of a sudden you got TripAdvisor, you got 390 or whatever, 460 million unique visitors a month or whatever number Coffer's at now. And it's like, oh, it's direct links to me. I like direct links. I don't have to go through anybody. I can do certain things like, right?
I can tell you that, and the fun part of it is that based on the DMA that the hotel is in, it's a dramatic price shift for that. I can have 150 room in a hotel wanting 3,000, 4,000 for business listing, and then another 50 room hotel in another market wants 9,000.
Oh yeah. Yep. Absolutely. It's their price. There's not a lot of.
I'm not telling any client about it. I much rather beat the keepers out of TripAdvisor when it comes from an advertising point of view than it is to go over and money for nothing more than access to my own content.
Well, but they also required those business listings to participate in all the sorts of, of all sorts of other things, right? You couldn't get into getting the thing to go book through Meta and book direct type stuff. So, or the assisted booking platform, right? I can't remember what they call. You couldn't do it if you didn't have business listing, right? So it was just, they turned it into the poker game, the ante just went up.
Yep, table stakes. Yep.
Yeah. So
well, it is
partly I don't blame them, because they have had such intense pressure from Wall Street. They have to fix the monetization, right? And again, if they weren't in the public markets, and I met with a private equity firm that I work with again at the Focusrite conference. I was saying if they were private, they would behave in completely different. He completely agreed. But again, this guy is trying to figure out. Actually, there's a separate guy, is a hedge fund. He's like, they're trying to figure out, is it going up or down, along with everything else, right? Because that's how they make money. There was one other. What was the other thing? Crap. It was another Steve Hafner comment, which I got to think their investor relations guys, heads are exploding. He just goes, I don't know why Amazon just doesn't buy Booking Holdings. Now they're going to have to pay $130 billion, but there they go.
There they go.
He said 130 or 100, or he said, actually said 140 billion, right? Which is like a 40% premium. And you just kind of went, because they're asking about Amazon, right? And things like that. He goes,
yeah,
they're that big. And he made some points. Travel's the largest industry in the world. All these things gets them. There's no shipping. There's no warehousing. There's all this stuff. They've got all these members, and so who knows? And Hafner's now running actually Kayak and Open Priceline's actually, or Priceline Booking Holdings is now consolidating things, so they're putting little camps. Before, when they bought everybody, it was everybody did their own thing, let them innovate, and that's fantastic. Now they've gone, good, you've done that, now let's start getting some synergies. So Hafner is now running Open Table as well, right? So you start going, that starts getting interesting.
Any conversation with Kayak as to, are they going to get it out of the hole that keep descending into? Are they doing something different with it in the sense of its combinations of things? Because Kayak used to be such a dominant player, and now it's a byproduct.
Yeah. Well, I think it's still a viable channel, but you have to look at, you don't want to go give it the same effort and allocation you did before, right? I mean, certainly Google and TripAdvisor have taken a lot of wind out of their sales, but Kayak's outrageously valuable for Booking Holdings, who is a data-driven company. I mean, again, Glenn Fogel came out and said they are running 1,000 experiments a day, right? Two things from Glenn Fogel. They're running 1,000 experiments a day, and they want to be the go-to place for the entire travel experience, right? That is Booking Holdings' focus. The whole Booking.com is going to start selling airfares, right?
Yeah.
And just think about that, because you're saying on that, Kayak still does a lot in airfare, right? Those are people that may or may not be getting monetized, but all of a sudden you start going, we know that here's someone who's flying to New York City next January. They're coming in. They're going for the HSMAI, digital marketing conference, right? Another plug for another conference. They're doing that. They're coming in the 22nd. They're leaving the 26th. That's a pretty high intent traveler, right? If you know their butts are on the plane, because it's a non-refundable fare with huge change fees. And if you've booked that ticket, you know that stuff, right? How much are hotels willing to pay for that?
Right.
15%? 20%? Apple normally gets 30%. I don't know. How much ask Avis and Hertz how much it costs to work with an airline.
Sure.
We think a 50-50 split would be fair. We own the car and are maintaining it and handling the insurance and washing them, and But again, and one other thing that came out, like this new distribution capability of the airlines, right, which was born out of Open Travel, was hijacked by Open Access, which was backed by Farelogix, who was, basically took the Open Travel spec, made it proprietary, acquired by ARC. Now the IATA standard for all airline stuff, for merchandising and all that stuff, that has hotel stuff in it, folks. And right now the airlines are starting to, you are going to be merchandised, hoteliers, the same way as an upgraded seat, advanced boarding, bundled in, unbundled. They have the capability, and wait for the other shoe to drop, with the weird caveat. Sabre just bought Farelogix for $360 million. So the evil GDS that all the airlines put this thing together to bypass now owns Farelogix. So now what happens, right? And that's going to be, so the ever-changing travel industry will be, can I tell you one more thing? Sorry, I just had the Focusrite is really good, right? And most people don't get to experience it. So another thing, there was a blockchain session. And I'm so sad Ed was not, Ed St.
Not on the show.
Flip 2 was not on the show, but there was a blockchain session.
You have to bring that up next time.
No. We're going to bring it up right now. IBM is doing two things. One is Maersk, which is the large shipping container company, who owns 30% of the world's shipping containers. The trillions in commerce go through these guys, right? And it's a problem when you open up your container and it's like, where's my stuff? Or it's somebody else's stuff, or whatever. Or there's a bunch of somebody else's stuff hidden in there. These very bad things can happen, right? So they're using the blockchain, and they've got all these partners using this sort of thing. And it's not the Bitcoin blockchain. There's no mining. There is no cryptocurrency. It's Hyperfabric, which is their version. Now it's private. It's not the, hey, everybody will be open and we'll all hold hands and sing Kumbaya, public chain, but they're doing it. They're also doing Walmart's food safety thing for it. He had an example that they had a problem with sliced mangoes were making people sick. I believe to the point of people perishing from them. That is something bad, right? I don't know if it's salmonella or whatever. And, you go through, as a public health challenge, you go back through that chain to figure out where's the problem, right? There are a lot of steps. They found the farm, right, with the problem. Normally it takes 7 days, right? And you go, wow, boy, a lot of people get really sick in 7 days. Using blockchain technology, right, for this with, I don't know how many partners, down to the grower, down to the processor, all the way through, really kind of, soil to fork type, or farm to fork, I guess is probably a better term. Guess how long it took to find it? No,
hours?
Please. How many hours?
6?
6 hours? You're close, 2.2 seconds.
Good God. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Remember when I said the blockchain could do very good thing? That's the kind of stuff that you go, wow. And again, IBM's obviously it's not a philanthropy. They want to participate in this, but Dee Waddell, who's their global GM for travel and transportation, is like, and it's true. They want to make a ton of money off of this stuff, right? It's a great thing, but it's like, we can make the world a better place. We can make a lot of stuff more secure, work better, because this technology, you can't go erase that entry and do that. It started at that farm, right? It went to here. Here's where it went and how many there were and how many fell off the back of the truck, whatever, everything's marked. And to go find out where to go, you got it, right? And there's transparency to everybody. So
I have to answer my door. If you want to talk for a couple more minutes on stuff, I'm going to go over and mute myself up for just a second and be right back, okay? I got to go answer my door. Hold on.
His arms dealer.
I got to go answer my door. Hold on.
Okay. Lauren's arms dealer needs to come and deliver his armaments. Let's see if there's another topic we could talk about. Oh, the 6 principles of personalization for hotel websites, which I thought another FocusWire article, but I thought this was actually pretty good. So the basic thing, personalization, very obviously hot topic. Lauren and I were talking earlier about really looking at how do you personalize the pricing. Well, you've got to personalize the profile. First, you need the profile data. Then you can start looking for signals and having personalized experiences. But the CMO or Booking.com CMO basically said, hey, what do we need to look at? And he made a few really, really good points. One, hotel websites are communication systems. You are sitting there talking to people about, here's what our product is, here's what we can do. But now people expect a lot more interactivity. They might want to know about spa treatments, restaurant specials, if you can handle certain allergies, whatever. Which stuff should be on your website, should be easy to find, but maybe they are highly engaged. They really like you, but they just prefer to talk to somebody or to text because that's preferred method of communication, you have to be able to support that. So he had 6 core principles, which I thought were great. Number 1, you cannot force conversion. And he said, consumers on their stats visit an average of 38 travel websites, which on a separate talk, if Lauren was here, he'd be talking about, watch out on your retargeting for people taking, because they're pixel fired, getting a percentage of your revenue, because you may be paying many times for pixels firing God knows where.
I'm back, and it's true.
Oh, you are? Oh, okay. Oh, no. Well, what I did is, while I was stalling, was the six principles of personalization for hotel websites from Booking.com, who freaking knows about converting on hotel websites. So principle 1, can't force conversion. These people are shopping all over the place. So you have to provide them it's a conversation. You need to provide them the information they want to know about, right? It's not like, you meet somebody at a conference and you want them to take you to dinner. You don't start off with, take me to dinner, sort of thing. I want to do this, or, that's the start. Or you want to take them to dinner to go pitch them some deal. You don't start off with that. You have to figure out what they're interested in and go through the process. Principle 2, what users do is more important than what users like, right? Behaviors. So yes, you can say, I like this, I do that. Those are weak signals. There's nothing better than saying, here is what these people go in mass. We've tracked it. If they go to landing page A, they wind up at point B. They go through the funnel. Here is what happens, and they book this thing. That is the execution of big data, right? Principle number 3, too many options is like no options. If you give them everything, you're snowed under, right? You can't make a choice. There's just too much. Your brain explodes, and you go somewhere else where it's simpler. Principle 4, everything you think you know is probably not true. So they're going on gut feel on these things, right? I mean, gut feel can be okay, but instincts are good, but data analysis will probably beat it. If it's good data analysis, right? If it's bad data analysis, you will be absolutely sure that you're doing the wrong thing, and you'll go down the wrong path. Principle 5, average is always wrong. When you're using these and these behavioral analytics, you just don't look at, well, here's kind of the average person. You have scenarios where there's a gamut of people. Nobody wants to be treated just like the average person. They want to be treated truly as an individual. So that's absolutely critical, and you can, again, really knock yourself out of contention if you do that. And then if results are inconclusive, increase the sample size, right? So you're trying to test for this thing, and you've got 40 people. That's probably not a lot of data, or enough data, and that's why OTAs have a huge advantage over individual hotel brands, especially smaller hotel brands. They have more data. They have a bigger sample size. They can test this behavioral stuff, right? So anyway, I thought that was a very good overall article. Oh, one thing that I did mention to Kellen at Hilton is I begged her to please fix, not just the Hilton, not to pick on the Hilton website, but Marriott. They're all the same. They are all horrible, right? I'll give you an example. Well, and they're horrible in probably four different ways. Number one, if you're interested in a destination like New York, if you go to Hilton.com, you get 51 hotels. If you put New York City, whatever, with your dates, you get a list of 51 hotels. It's like, oh my God. Same thing with Marriott. You can now get 199. Talk about that point for booking. Too many options is no options.
Paralysis. Yeah.
Right. But you're on a New York landing. There's nothing that tells you about New York. You've got a list of hotels at all, right? Go to Expedia. There's stuff on New York. There's stuff to do. It makes you a little bit more positively reinforced that you're making the right decision. I got more stuff to figure out here, but now I'm inspired because that looks really cool. There's some stuff going on. That's great. Right. So those landing pages, personas. Oh my God. put in honeymoon or something, and there might be a landing page for it, and there's a picture of maybe a bride and groom getting married, or I don't know what, and with some text points, a few bullets, and that's it. And you just go, oh, come on, guys. You don't get many more opportunities at a high ADR, probably longer length of stay booking than your typical guest with a honeymoon sort of thing, right? This is a prime guest you want. And what are you doing? Nothing, right? Nothing relevant to them. Then, but even on these lists of hundreds or whatever of hotels, what do you see? Photos of porte cocheres and exteriors of the buildings. And you just go, oh dear, that doesn't tell me anything about this property, especially because it wants $50 a night over the other one. You click on that, and then, I'll go into the gallery of this. Nothing but empty lobbies, empty hotel rooms, no humans. Looks, kind of post-apocalyptic sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And the hotels are wondering why they don't convert as well. I mean, it's like, and that's what I told Kelly. I said, the great thing, some of the things are really hard, right? This stuff, yes, Hilton has 5,000 hotels, Marriott has how many ever. There's a lot of stuff to fix, but this is fixable and there is clear ROI on it. And boy, let me tell you, she totally gets that, right? But again, you've got to get all the hoteliers to go, here's how you take a picture. Sort of thing. Make sure it's in focus, make sure it's but anyway, and then that ties into the personalization, right? If you don't have that stuff, if you don't have the content, if you don't have the structure, if you don't have the data, how are you going to personalize? I mean, these hotels are bad at personas, right? They're bad at really behavioral analytics. Don't do personalization without those. You're just going to screw it up and do something bad and either get sued or turn off people or do something just stupid. Maybe undercut your prices or maybe charge too much and not convert. You're going to get sophisticated and complex and maybe not have anything to show for it. So, should we do the rut row?
Might as well do the rut row since we're now coming up on the 2-hour mark.
This one didn't really have a lot to do with travel, but it was alarm over talks to implant UK employees with microchips. So how you microchip your dog?
Remember there's a San Francisco company that has this as a volunteer thing so that they can walk in and get security doors open and what have you. And
wouldn't it be great to have your Hilton, instead of the app, it was just the microchip, and you could go and you could pay for things and you could open your doors and things like that. And here's the really creepy part. They're putting it right here, like between your thumb and forefinger, right? They put it, it's the size of a grain of rice. They put, in there. And then you can go do all this stuff. I don't know. What happens when someone knows about the Lauren Gray vast empire of wealth and assets, the houses with the garages full of Lamborghini mansions, estates, many of which are only filled with garages for exotic sports cars.
Oh,
right?
yes.
Which are only drivable if you have the chip. You can only get in those houses with the chip. What is the barrier between, say, an impoverished criminal like myself to say, I would like to live like that? What do I need? Well, killing Lauren is messy, but what if I just get a spoon or a knife or a fork or whatever at lunch and take his microchip,
right?
Which has probably a bunch of biometric God knows what on it, right?
Right.
How do you get that back?
Right.
Sort of thing.
Right.
It's the size of a grain of rice. It opens all the doors in your mansions. It lets you drive all your cars.
Here's the other part, and this is the part that is right now a current concern, and it's a rut row that's actually in reality, is what happens when you lose your biometric identity, your eye, retina, your fingerprint, your voice recognition, your image of face, if you're using, because remember, these things, facial recognition and biometric and everything else, if that gets taken and duplicated by somebody else, how can you prove yourself being authentic compared to the other person who has the same authentications? And it's a very real, once you get into the realm of ultra security, biometric security, if that gets taken and used by somebody else, who is the bank supposed to believe? You calling up saying, hey, that wasn't a charge that I did, and the other person being contacted going, oh yeah, it is. I'm Lauren. Yeah, I bought that
weekend movie recommendation Minority Report with Tom Cruise. Right? There's one particular section where
the eyes, I think it was.
He replaces the retinas.
Yeah.
Some may call that minor surgery. Did not look like a pleasant procedure whatsoever. Yeah, that's not good. But but you don't. The funny thing with that is you don't really need the retinas. You need somehow, maybe you just need to hack in with the digital representation of the retinas and have some sort of hack that goes when they see your eyes, it cross-references it to the biometric data of the biometric representation of the other person's eyes, right?
How many movies have we seen where the handprint's supposed to open the door and the villain or the heroine knocks out the guard, either slaps his dead hand on it or perhaps severed the hand to put on it? It's like, yeah, even the movies are showing that.
Okay. I'll just get gruesome here for a second. I was at a security conference. This was several years ago for an ATM group, right? Big ATM financial services conference. And a guy spoke from the UK who was preeminent on biometric security. I mean, I can't, Cambridge or Oxford, one of these guys. Yeah, really, really smart guy. Mercedes-Benz had their little thumbprint, open the door, turn on the key, take off in your car. In Brazil, some enterprising youths thought through this process, right? We started talking about tech stacks and processes earlier, and figured out we need his thumb. That's what we do. If we get his thumb, we get his car. And that's a nice Mercedes, right? So what did they start doing? They went and started taking, you don't just get your car stolen, you get your thumb stolen. That sucks, right? Okay, so Mercedes looks at this and goes, oh, again, going through this whole text, how these things integrate, how they work, kind of the unintended consequences of things. We got it. The sensor they were using actually had a temperature thing too. You need a live thumb. We've got it. This guy said, again, these enterprising youths, not book educated. We're talking educated on the streets of life and that sort of thing. They got a couple nails and some D-cell batteries and wires, which I guess if you hook into a thumb, warm it up enough. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Apparently they do.
It was apparent. What he said, it was smaller than a car battery because that would be bulky to carry. You don't want that. That's slowing you down because there's a certain thing between severing the thumb and getting into the car, right? There is a period of time there, and getting the car back because you don't want to have lots of car batteries around or a warehouse full of these. You want to just carry your little portable device. But he said it was D-cell batteries and some wire and nails that they plugged in the thumb, warmed it up enough, put it on the door, and here we go.
We should have had this. We should have had this show's portion before Halloween, since we've delved into the macabre. But no, we had to wait until after Halloween.
That's Mercedes-Benz. I mean, we're talking quality German engineering, right?
Yeah. Well,
and that's a bad user. I would classify that. I don't know. We can take a poll. I would classify that as a bad user experience.
Yeah, I think that would be. All right, we're at the 2-hour mark. So. If people want to find out about you, even though I mentioned this earlier in the show a half hour ago, if people want to find out more about the mind of Robert Cole, yes, where can they go, Mr. Cole?
They can go to Robert K. Cole on social media or rockcheetah.com.
Yes, and for the archives of this show and the macabre portion of it, you can go to
more. Lauren will be providing some additional links to great horror flicks and
a link to the Minority Report.
Yeah, the Saw movies are.
All those. I'm going to put a link there. But there is going to be lots of links to the videos graciously provided by Mr. Robert for the Focusrite, because it is a great bit of content, and those will be in the show notes for show number 171. So go to hospitalitydigitalmarketing.com/live. Look for the link for show number 171. There you'll see the show notes.
Sorry about that. The note I sent out. Oh, because I figured out because you messed up on 169 last time, I think, right? You doubled 169, and then I compounded the error.
Yeah. So that's all right, because I went over and I sent a follow-up and I said, hey, it's actually 171, but all said and done. We apologize to Mr. Matt Allard from RunTriz. We ran out of time for him to join the show today, which he won't be on the show. The penalty to pay, right?
Ed St. Ange and Stuart Butler, I believe, were unsuccessful in their attempts to raise bail.
Yeah, and Tim decided to collect money to feed his family today. So he had a little client action.
Yeah.
What's that about? Anyways, thank you everyone for having listened to and or watched us during this process. And we look forward to show number 172 next week, where I won't even announce even if we do have a guest co-host, so that we don't have to disappoint you.
Well, it is the day after. It is the day after Thanksgiving. You're having a show, huh?
Yeah, I do.
I may not participate. It may be the Lauren Gray one-man show.
The Lauren Gray one-person show.
And I think the magic tricks, the balloon animals. You can do a lot of different stuff.
The puppets, all coming out. Oh
my gosh! Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yep. Oh yeah. Clown outfit, big red nose. We're doing the whole.
Yep. If you ever saw Gallagher's routine or Carrot Top, you have not seen Lauren.
I've not lived until you've seen Lauren Gray's hand puppet show and pantomimes. But yeah, I do. For consistency, we always do. I will. And Robert, by all means, I always appreciate
Black Friday show.
The Black Friday show. Actually, I am going to theme the show about hospitality or holiday advertising. 1, the time windows. 2, the methodologies. 3, successes and failures associated with it. Of hotels that think that they just do what everybody else does and pop up and, oh, hey, look, we got this offer. No. If you're doing that, you're doing it wrong.
Your best customers do with analytics of behaviors. Look at that, perhaps.
So we'll have that conversation next week. And like I said, totally understand. I always appreciate it as a privilege when you get to join Robert. I do
most of the time. I think my attendance rate is pretty good compared to some of the others.
I think you have the highest attendance rate compared to any of your other co-hosts.
And a few times you haven't been around. But yeah, your attendance rate, you are the star kiss up student on this. I know.
Holly says she's going to join me next Friday. She has a great what not to do story. Yes, she has a great what not to do story. So thank you, Holly.
Oh, good. Is she going to name names?
Oh, I hope so. Wouldn't be a good show without it, right? All right. With that, thank you everyone for having watched and listened to. We will see you next week. If you have nothing that you find to do on Black Friday, please join us at 11:30 Eastern Time for show number 172 of This Week in Hospitality Digital Marketing. And until then, thank you everyone, and we'll talk to you next week.